Good afternoon, brothers and sisters of sobriety. My name is Vinny. I'm an alcoholic and addict.
I'm Sam. I'm an alcoholic and addict.
And it gives us great pleasure to introduce my man, Stewie from Hoboken.
Not to feel left out, my name is Stu. I'm an alcoholic and an addict, and I thank Vinny and I thank Sam for having me on the show. It's an honor and a pleasure.
It's our pleasure too, brother.
And this is our podcast, Tenacious Recovery, and we are a traveling podcast. We are coming in from Hoboken, New Jersey, Stewie's hometown, his stomping grounds. So, Stu, tell us a little about yourself.
It's funny when Vinny says a stomping ground. So right where we're sitting at today, actually to the right, we're in a room off here.
Tell us where we're at.
We're in St. Francis Church, Hoboken, New Jersey. This is the place where Frank Sinatra was baptized, right on the corner. And a big legacy here with my family. My family was part of this parish for many years. I went to grammar school through this parish. And this was probably the last of my school days, my real school days. Graduating from St. Francis Grammar School, 8th grade, was that's as far as I went with my education until I got to rehab and got a GED.
Cool. Well, at least you something positive came out of it. Aside from your sobriety, you got your GED, which is good. So do me a favor. Take us back. Let us know. Go back to where it all began. If whatever you feel comfortable with.
The blessing for me is that I'm actually still in the same neighborhood where I grew up at, where we're at right now. I mean, I grew up around the corner on Adams Street, and for me, growing up, it was always all my isms started as a kid. My insecurities, my fears, my staring out the window in school, and that came from having an alcoholic father, which for me was tough growing up. You know, my father passed away when I was 15. I was a little older when he passed, but you know, the earliest memories of my mom, you know, my my dad would be going to work and my mom would be getting up. We had a little apartment around the corner, which was 2 cold water flats converted by my grandfather, and there was no heat. So we gather in the morning and we'd be next to my dad on this little stove. And all of a sudden, my mom would come out and give my father the look. And you know what the look was about because he was a Wall Street guy in the 70s, which was rare in this neighborhood because the Wall Street guys didn't come from 3rd and Jefferson and 3rd and Adams. So those kind of guys were blue-collar bookies. If you didn't work on the piers on the waterfront, you were either a bookie or you were just hanging out all day doing nothing, scamming. That's the Hoboken way. So my father, being an alcoholic he was, my mom would smell his shirt and she'd know he was out all night, and that determined the way the day was going to go, and it was always going to be a problem. And it was a rough upbringing because, you know, the abuse which comes along with having an alcoholic father. My mother physically abused. Never me and my brother abused. In hindsight, you know, we know in recovery what we do when we clean house. You know, there's 3 things you do. You find God, you clean house, you help somebody else. But when I clean house, you know, you come to know things about people and the hate dissolves, which makes addicts. All those fears, my defects of character, which make me who I am, that's all dissipates when you guys who I'm talking to here who hear this come to the other side. I have no ill will. I have no hard feelings. But it was just a rough way of growing up for like a 8, 9, 10-year-old kid. That's where I really believe it was all started for me. That fear was everything. And when I first took that first drink, of course, how did I feel?
That's good.
You know what I mean? So,
everything went away.
Yes.
That's right. I mean, and that's what we do. We seek out something that's going to make us feel much better.
I find that those like deep-seated resentments, right? Not the ones like someone that wronged you in passing that's checked the box. The deep-seated ones, the family resentments, they're the hardest to work on because you're always working on them. I would say that you can get past things or you can grow to accept it, right? Through having a relationship with God. A working relationship with your family is a working relationship with your family. Yeah. Things come up and it's always progressing. I've always learned that the best thing I can do is just do the right thing and not hold on to it. You know what I mean? Because they're not going to change because I changed, you know? They're not ever going to change. They may change the way they look at me. They may change the way they treat me, but they still are who they are, and I just need to accept that, you know?
And just to give you like a little more of a background, where I come from, how deep alcoholism is rooted in my family. My grandfather, who converted those 2 flats, right? Full-blown alcoholic. My grandmother would get the call. They lived with us from 1985 to 91. My grandmother would get the call. Where's Grandpa? that means he's in prison. So my grandfather was one of those guys, always scamming. You know what I mean? So he'd be in and out of jail. My grandmother would get beatings from him. I heard when she was young, a black and white. I actually had to threaten my grandfather one time when I was older.
Wow.
So she was a victim of that violence through the alcoholism. My mom goes off and marries somebody just like my grandfather. She's a victim of that violence. And I grew up all in that type of atmosphere. And the reality was Dewar's, Cuddy, Shark, White Label. My father was not a beer drinker. He was a hard liquor drinker. He'd have the coffee cup in front of him in the morning with the anisette, with the pit. He'd burn it. He'd drink the coffee, and he was just that type of guy, man. He loved it. But the lifestyle was, it was a scary lifestyle growing up. It was, like I said, it was all fear based. And what he did for me, and it still is a big part of my life today, which is coaching young kids. My father was a track runner for Jersey City State College. Like, he always had us in football, basketball, baseball. Every seasonal change, he was there. And like I said, with the forgiveness part comes in, he did his best. You know what I mean? I know at the end of the day for me, but see how the alcohol runs deep in my family. I still don't have a relationship with my brother today. I do not talk to him because my mom was pushing me to talk to him about his lifestyle, and that backfired. I haven't talked to my brother since maybe 2009, and I reached out, and I've tried. My nephews have gotten older, and I lost a lot that way. And it's still the deep-seated alcoholism that continues to run through the family and destroy. And I worry about that next generation. Where are they going to do? What did they learn? You know what I mean? They learned hate. Daddy don't talk to Uncle Stewie. And it's all that nonsense continues and continues, all from alcoholism. You know what I mean? So
they're born into the resentment.
Yeah, there you go. Like you were talking about, the family resentment's the worst. So, like I said, growing up here, like I always played ball and I loved it. I mean, my addiction just, I believe I was lucky because I heard the podcast. You're 21, you came in, you got sober. I was lucky at a young age to finally be done. I was on that corner, staring in a car, looking at myself, coming out of a crack house, probably smoking 3 days in the projects. I was like, dude, you're throwing a towel and you're young. But for me, how it started for me, football player, broke my ankle, 12-year-old kid, the joints coming down the line, and I'm looking at them saying, I can't be the chump now, right? All my boys are hanging out, I got to be cool. I grab the joint, I take the first token. And like I said, besides drinking at a young age at about 10, that token, that joint, that was another thing that, I feel good. I can get along, man. You know what I mean? It was like I found home. You know what I mean? I found my solution.
You found relief.
Yeah.
I love when they use the verbiage in the book that says we had arrived, because that's exactly how I felt. We had arrived.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. That was down the water. See, in Hoboken, when we grew up, we'd be down the piers. The cops would funnel us down to the water. So we're all down by the water on a pier. Yeah, good place to put old kids in. I put them on the water, let them jump in. So we're all down there hanging out. And people did jump in. We actually had a guy who swam across the river. His name was Crestmore, rest his soul. He passed away. But I had arrived, you're drinking a 40 ounce of Old English or Colt 45 or whatever it was, or Budweiser. And then it was like, man, I was on, man. I loved it, man. Like I said, nothing, what God does for me today, what alcohol and drugs did for me then. It's that simple. That fills the hole for me.
That's a good way to look at it.
Now I know where to go. I got to get my feel good. And like at the end of the day, that was all I knew back then. Because you know what? It was just constant insanity. My mom and dad are separated, right? My dad hooks up with this lady. They're out in Secaucus. My mother's like, why are you going to their house for? Why? They got a refrigerator full of food? Why won't you stay here? It's like the torn. It's always the in-between, the kids. And listen, I couldn't. My brother dealt with it. Maybe he's got the right idea, right? He shut himself off from everything. He don't care. He's walking around nonchalant. That's not me, man. My feelings are on my sleeve, and I always felt hurt by it, like stuff like that. Hey, listen, we have our coping mechanisms, but it's crazy.
Yeah, all our coping mechanisms came from a bottle or a drug, for me anyway. But the good thing is, like you're kind of like me in that you got clean fairly early in life. Right?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I got sober 21 years old.
21, right.
I entered my first rehab at 17 years old, and I was court ordered. So here's what I was doing between maybe 1985 to 86, 87. What happened was with us, drugs are a big part of my story. Like, I loved alcohol. Alcohol gave me my courage. I'm tough on the street. Now we're banging out. I'm going to talk to a girl. I can live like that now with the alcohol. But once I started doing the coke in the 80s, my brother had it in the house. My spot was like the spot right around the corner. Everybody was there. Then it came to crack.
90s.
1986. 86.
Yeah. 86 is when it was made a good push, because I remember that was the year I got clean. And it was making a push it was in Florida, but it was making a push up into the Northeast, and that's when I first saw it in the area.
Yeah. So the crack comes, and a friend of mine, Gabe, Lefty, who I believe just passed away. Look, Stu, look what I got. We're smoking a Wooler joint, they used to call it. So they put it in a joint, now I'm smoking that. Now, I know a guy, Gory, who got murdered by somebody in Hoboken. Gory used to take us to Harlem. Now, picture me, white kid. Gory's white. Gory's nuts. He's taking us up to Harlem. We're working in crack houses up on 128 Lenox Avenue, okay? Now, what we're doing in there is painting, spackling for these guys up there at that age. But we're in the spot. There's rocks on the table like this. Dude, I can't tell you, they raided the place. Me and my friend were in the spot taking stuff. They let us upstairs. We're on each side of the door. They raided the apartment next door. We got to get out. It was insanity. So me, white kid, tiny kid from Hoboken, I'm working in crack houses with the brothers on Lenox Avenue in my teenage years. This is where the drugs took. Listen, there was no other way. I was not coming out of this. You understand?
Right.
If I didn't have that intervention, God didn't say, Stu, come on, I was not walking away. It was impossible. I was dead on the street. So
it's always something that makes you come to the conclusion that you need to do something.
Yeah,
you need treatment. You need something.
Without that, and for me, it was that day on the corner. I mean, like I said, I saw myself in the mirror. The moment of clarity hit me, it's like, still, you're throwing a towel, and you're a young kid, man. What are you doing? So, like at the end of the day, like I'm in high school, played freshman football. We were talking about the glory days at 16 years old. It was over. I had 9 interceptions in one season, 3 in one game. I see my coach on the train. I'm going over to home, and we're taking a pad train up. I'm going to switch up. I see him. I said, "Is that Coach Lenzik? He's with somebody." He goes, "Yeah." I tap him on the shoulder. I said, "Coach, how you doing?" I saw in his eyes like the shock. He was like, "Holy shit!" This is only 2 years prior. I was playing with him. He saw it, like he was like, "This kid's gonna die." Right. You know what I mean? So it was like I was on the death mission, and not to mention that my father did die a year in '85. And so after that, it was like I'm on the street, man. I'm just running. I'm getting arrested. I can't even tell you countless times. My mother's taking me to court, going to court me up here. I got hit by a car in 1978. We had money from the insurance that went to the lawyer. That was to pay the lawyer to get me out of scrapes. Right. It was crazy.
Oh my God.
I came this close to doing time, getting arrested, going to a regular prison. This many times. All my friends from this neighborhood where we're sitting now have been to countless times. I'm one of the lucky ones, the few. I'm telling you, believe me, you're looking at a miracle. You guys are hearing a miracle today on here and the reality is, like, I believe, like, yeah, I got saved in the beginning, right? I was pulled out of that, right? We say we're saved from a scrap heap, right? From the lowest level to the greatest level ever known, right? I'm here. But this takes work to be here 32 and a half years later. You know, for the people who are listening, like, this is helpful. Yeah, I got so many stories and countless events, guns to my head in Harlem and crazy stuff that happened to me. But at the end of the day, when you get blessed to be on this side where these two gentlemen are also sitting with me, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to continue to stay sober. And that's the main message, you know, like going out today, you know?
Yeah, you got to do something. You have to do something for your sobriety every day. You know, that's the way I look at it.
Without a doubt. Like I heard you say on the podcast, what'd you say? There's no days off, right? There's it's the rent's always due, right?
Oh, yeah.
And for me, like the blessing is for me, like I know that I owe. I'm never under the impression that I don't owe, that I'm not going to give back, and I'm not going to be involved in people's lives. Like just last week, the room we're sitting in right now was involved doing work with somebody, like trying to get people right. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if I'm not involved in other people's life today, what am I really doing here? You know, for me, when I first came in these rooms, there was a gentleman for me. His name was Eddie Sheehan. I can say his name. He's dead now. He's a longshoreman, right? This man showed me love. Like, you know, my father died. I needed a father figure in my life.
Sure.
Like, if I didn't get that in my life, there was no way that I was going to. I really believe if I didn't receive that love from one person, to one alcoholic addict to another, I wasn't going to make it here. He died 40 years sober. Like, me and that man made movies together for 25 years every day. You know what I mean? So, like, at the end of the day, God always puts people in your path. Like, you guys are we're in each other's path right now. We're always here to work and help and do something else. There's no doubt about it. You know?
I always think, in AA at least, a lot of guys show up. Like, a lot of guys show up to AA and they're just not ready. Like, they're just putting their ass in a seat. You know what I mean? But God will put somebody in your path that makes the work look attractive. Like, I showed up to AA so many times and I said all the right things. Zero action. And I always went back out, right? The last time when I was, like, really done, like, so unwilling to trust a single thought that went through my head, He put the right guy in front of me. I actually asked the dude to sponsor me that I respected and looked up to because I liked his message. And he was kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of busy right now, like whatever. And in the same breath, this dude, who I knew for years from being in and out of AA, came up behind me. He's like, dude, I'll sponsor you. I'm really looking to sponsor somebody. And he changed my life. I trusted him so much, too. Like, my 4-step was so fearless and honest. And I bet it wouldn't have been if that first guy who turned me down didn't sponsor me.
Brother, and people, like the thing is, like, when people are ready, like they say, when the student's ready, teacher will appear. A lot of people, you know, I've known for me, I was talking in a meeting the other day, and I told people, let the guilt go, not of your past. Let the guilt go of thinking that everybody that walks through our path, that they say they want help, that, you know, we have to accommodate their every need, and they take advantage. You know, we as good people always want to be, you know, extend our hand, and then we feel bad, you know, did I do enough, God? Did I help them? Especially people that die. But you know what? When people aren't ready in here, and they're not ready for the receiving message, there's really nothing you can do. There's nothing you could do. But like I said, we'll go back a little further right now. Like, so I get to my first high school, like I said, that first, you know, the attraction for me, you see, the difference is today I'm attracted to people like these gentlemen I'm sitting with today. Sam and Vinny. The attraction for me before was a kid from Jersey City. I get to my freshman year, Hudson College, the first kid I meet on the team, he takes me to his house, and what do? We drink, and he pulled the package out. Okay? First day when I got there. These are the guys I've been attracted to my whole life. My father fought tooth and nail. Listen, he was okay until he divorced from my mom, I believe, at the end of the story. Like, when I'm a kid, I'm getting calls from mafia made men in the neighborhood telling me they're going to kidnap and kill me and my brother if my father doesn't pay the money. Like I said, going back to where, and you know, guess what? You got to come out of the house and you're walking around the neighborhood. See, that's where that fear always comes in, man. It's like it's coming in on you. So I wanted to get with guys who I thought were like street guys, tough guys. You know, I could kind of consider myself. I wasn't shying away from fights, but when the cocaine came in, I didn't want to fight anymore. That was over. But like going to Hoboken High School, my father fought that tooth and nail. And the crazy part is, I was talking about with the outpatient I was speaking yesterday, I never went to class. I didn't care. Kids were from the projects were robbing alcohol off the trucks. We had lockers full of liquor. I was dropping hits of mescaline. I was doing all types of insanity stuff, and I never cared about life. Like I wanted somebody to really just put my lights out. And then let's not talk about the poor people who came down the next day. Their car windows are broke. The robberies we committed. It was anything went to drink and get high. And like I said, from this area here, there were about 60 guys down the block who all died of maybe overdoses. My friend Anthony, the older crew from us. All my guys basically in and out of jail, still running, getting high. And I like to hit this point too, like a lot of people. You know, so much as I know a ton of people that died. I'm sure these fellas do too. But at the end of the day, that's not even the worst part sometimes. You know what the worst part is? Watching people live a long, miserable, addicted life. I believe for me, that's worse than death. I just had the gentleman, a friend of mine, his name is Kevin Toomey, rest his soul, love this guy. Kills me right now to even talk about it. Here's a man that 68 years old, Jameson, he just kept going to the end. And this man here made the phone call in 1991. Remember, took time off. He didn't even go into the firehouse that day. He was a fireman, retired. He said, come on. I remember him on the phone saying, this kid is going to die. And Bobo, throughout the years, I mean, you guys don't understand, like, the stuff that I would go through with so many gentlemen, not you guys in front of me. You guys, like, in the audience, don't get it. Like, when you come to this side and you're on the other side and you're feeling good, you want everybody to feel good. That's the only thing I want you to do. Feel good, go help somebody else out, right? So this gentleman finally just died maybe last month. And I found 3 of my friends on the floor with their parents. I found myself, I could not even go into this apartment. The cop came out, and I said, what's up? And he gave me the sign like he was dead, and I couldn't even bring myself to go in. It was too heartbreaking for me. And this is the man who made the phone call, got me put away. Lord knows if he don't make the call that day, it's done. And I watched this man deteriorate probably over the last 25 to 30 years. This was a guy so knowledgeable, educated, college guy, a merchant marine. This guy was, every topic you throw up, he was a basketball player. Nice guy in the world, give his shirt off his back. But the disease don't care. You know, that's the message I want to put to it today. Don't matter how nice of a person you are, how good, it wants you isolated, and that's what the main goal is, and then it'll settle for your debt.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's why I always say the functional alcoholic it's the most miserable one. Like for me, when I'm ripping and running, I can't afford an apartment. I can't afford anything. I can literally use the money in my pocket I have that day, and that's as far ahead as I've thought, right? I always come to a head there. I show up in ERs. I show up in institutions every single time. Things intervene. If I lived like a somewhat functional life and just slowly took my liver down into the ground, I would have never made it. I would have never showed up because I would convince myself every single day, oh, I'm not like that guy. I got a roof over my head. I got a radiator pumping out heat, you know? Agonizing.
That's right. That's why in the program we never compare ourselves to the guy next to us. Because if we did that, there'd only be one alcoholic and one drug addict in the world.
It's true.
You compare yourself, and I'm not as bad as him. He's not as bad as the next guy. All of a sudden, nobody's an alcoholic and an addict except for one each, which we all have our own story. We all get from point A to point B. And some people may say, well, oh, you weren't that bad. Like, I was that bad for me. You were that bad for you.
And that's a great point that both of you guys just made. Like, for me, I believe God had me where I had to be, right? So I'm living around the corner. This was the end of my active addiction. I came in for a little stint, and 17 years old, I was forced into rehab by the judge. Could care less. I said, there's no way. I would turn 18 in the first rehab in 1988. There's no way I'm making it. I'm not. I thought it was a crack at the time, drugs. I never quit liquor. It ain't gonna happen. Back then it was, Bud Nips, 48 Nips.
Oh, yeah.
We used to rob liquor trucks like it was. They parked one guy, you're done. We robbed the whole truck. So I loved alcohol. I loved everything it did for me. I said I'll still drink. Go out for 3 years. I almost killed a lady in a car accident. Okay. This is when my addiction started. It's speeding up for me. They always say, oh, it's waiting for you. It's waiting. Trust me, guys out there, your disease is very patient. It takes time. It'll let you believe you're okay. You can drink like normal people. If you're one of us, which hopefully you'll come to a quick determination, not lose hundreds of years on your life, and you'll accept this. I come back, just to give you a little progression right now. So 3 years I run on the street. I crashed a car, almost killed a lady in an accident. Had a big fight with a whole family in court. Thank God the lady was okay. I robbed a drug dealer on a corner, laughing at her. As I'm laughing, boom, the car blasted me. I had to stop sign. She was right away. We left the car there like I wasn't going to get arrested. Like, they couldn't care if the lady was dead or alive, and that's just a piece of shit that I was at the time. So I didn't get away. I got arrested. Long story short, the lady was okay. That's the best part, because I've spoken prisons where I know a guy who was coming down to drink in Hoboken. He killed a woman. He was in jail for vehicular homicide. Okay, so I know I'm blessed. I've been taken care of my whole life, by God, no doubt. So I go to run for 3 years. My friend of mine calls me up. He goes, hey, Stu, do me a favor, man. I know you made those meetings a few years ago. Can you take me to a meeting? Okay, no problem. We just got out of jail. We go to meetings for 5 months, okay? And I'm not doing nothing. See, here's the thing. Like, I wasn't ready. Like, people, I believe you have to be ready also.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, I wasn't ready. I'm going to meetings for 5 months. And they talk about blank spots we suffer from. We do suffer. The alcoholic and addict has blank spots where consequences don't come into play. We just say, I want to go get a little buzz. I want to feel good. I want to take care. I'm not bothering nobody.
See what happens.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah. We'll see how this goes. So, and I know how it's going. It's a Friday night. I got $300 in my pocket. I'm at a bar on the avenue called Bahama Mamas. Now, I don't drink a Bahama Mamas. At the end, my friend Bobby, who was a narco, he's retired. He said they used to show our pictures every night. If you see these guys on site, pull them over, check them. That was just a routine. So I'm in Bahama Mamas, like I'm a big shot now. I got 5 months sober. I got money in my pocket. Where's my grandfather? So a cop friend of mine taps me on the shoulder. He goes, what are you doing? You're doing so good. The beer just hit the counter. I said, you know what? You're right. I want to go downtown where they're serving 40 ounces over the bar, Coke under the table, pack of Newport on the bar. And that's why I felt I belonged. You understand?
You had arrived.
Yeah, in that secluded place, leave me the fuck alone. Excuse my language. Bottom line. So after that relapse, that was August 91. I stood out only 2 more months. I was right around the corner from where we're sitting now. Got a case of 48 Nips, which I love, on the table. And a friend of mine, my mother was dating a guy in Brooklyn at the time. Friend of mine, a local dealer. Still, could I bag up in your house? Absolutely. Coke. The Coke is on the table. Tears are running down my eyes. And I wanted to kill myself. And like, at the point where I got to, like, I didn't work, I didn't go to school, I did absolutely nothing. It says, like, we could see people, like the hard drinkers could just live their life. And I had to be dragged down to the bottom. I was basically begging dollars on the corner. I was basically panhandling, and that's all we did. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like, that's where my addiction took me, and I believe I had to get to that point that early because, like I said, I don't know if I was I just, all I did was drink and get high. That's my story. I didn't, there was no in between. There was no, oh, maybe I'll work a day here. My mother, like, and the sad part is my mother, who suffered through watching her dad, and then my father who died and who abused her, and then my brother, who wasn't really that bad, but he was, could be going there, and then she just watching me deteriorate, and like I wouldn't even talk to her anymore, like for years. Like my grandmother lived with us at the time because they lost their apartment because of my grandfather's activities, and my ding was like I know she'd leave for work in the morning. I watch her leave, and I come up and my grandmother cook for me. I sleep. My grandmother wake me up. Look, Mom's gonna come home. Get out. So that was a relationship. A lady.
She kept you sick.
Yeah. A lady. My poor mother, who I called the C word because she wouldn't give me $5. The piece of shit that I was. You know what I mean? And get emotional. One of the proudest things that my mom's ever told me, like when I first got sober, somebody called the house, my cousin Peter, who just died of a heart attack. He called the house. He was like, hey, Stewie, I want to go to a meeting with him. Could you tell him, please? Phyllis, and my mother left to know we are proud of you. All the shit that I put her through.
Well, she still loved you. She's still your mother.
So, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And no doubt, Italian moms, the prayers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt.
So,
I always say Italian mothers keep their sons sick for way too long.
Well, they're doing the best they can. They don't know any better.
They're doing what they think is right.
They're doing what they think is right. That's the thing. And we know it's not right.
Yeah. Now, my mom was like, get out.
Yeah.
Don't come back.
Yeah.
You're costing me money. I'm tired of looking at you.
Well, the best was when I was...
And it saved me.
Yeah. When I was in rehab, right? Third week I'm in there. Second rehab. Ma, you want to come up? I need cigarettes. They having the family. She goes, I ain't coming up there. I don't care what you do. I came home, and this is the best thing she did for me. When I came out of the rehab, I'm sleeping first day. Finally, I'm in my own bed. I'm like, we had these double doors. Slide unless you fucking bust through the doors. Get the fuck up. Don't go in that refrigerator. I'm not buying you clothes. I'm not doing nothing for you. She goes, you're going to do this journey right now? If I see it, anything on you hot, you're gone. And when I came back from rehab, that was the blessing. Not before I went, but when I came back, she was not playing no more. So that's my mother, that tough love. And that's the way I still approach people, in the rooms today. Like, listen, I'm here. I'm not here for the bullshit. I'm here. Whatever you need, I die for you. You're the best thing, the only thing in this world, you can hear how crazy I am. I'm always jumping all over the joint. The only thing in this world that gets me super laser focused when a person says, yo, I'm done. I need help.
Absolutely.
And that's where you feel like, all right, I know what my purpose is. I love when people say, I don't know what God wants me to do. I don't know what you don't know what his purpose is. He made us the way we are so we can go help our people.
That's right.
It's really that simple. In my book, that's what I believe 100%.
The chosen few.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's a privilege. It's a privilege. I mean, what? It's not even work to me because the blessings I get on the back end. Here, I'll give you a perfect example. I meet a young lady, early recovery. We get married. Should I ever got married? No, probably not. Not my first wife. I'm just being honest. We were just like good friends. We met how I meet my first wife. How are we doing on time?
We're good. We're good.
How I meet my first wife is I'm on a relapse in April. I was sober April of before that October, before I came in, I'm actually in a bar and I'm in the basement. I knew the guy Hoboken who owned the place. He died since crack. And I don't know if he died from a heart attack, but you know how that goes, right? So I'm in the basement, I'm in the cooler, and I'm drinking like nuts. And I come up out of the basement, out of the 2 dungeon in the basement. I see this lady coming. I go, hey, what are you doing? Oh, my boyfriend is here. We're flirting a little bit. I said, F him. I said, give me your phone number. So a year later, she calls me. We get married. Long story. I mean, I'm sober at the time, though, which is cool. So she called me when I'm sober. So I stay with her from 92 to 2000. 2000, I get married to 06. Now, what happens? My second wife comes into my life, and me and my wife, first wife, are on the outs. My second wife comes in, and I read in the paper my wife's name. I said, Vip, I call my brother. I said, is this Alyssa? She got busted in a coke ring. I said, are you kidding me? So long story short, she starts coming to meetings. Okay, so here we go. I'm on the outs of my first wife. God saw fit. He put Alyssa in my life. Now, how many guys could say they heard their wife's fifth step, then married her. Okay?
Right.
So, I don't think anybody can say that but me.
That's
so
right.
At the end of the day, that guy, no, but listen, I'm only kidding if you hear me, don't worry, don't get mad. But,
he still loves you. Don't worry.
Yeah. But what an angel she puts into my life. And then here, and I'm going to say it. I mean, I'm not going to edit this out. I don't want to, I think it's relevant. Like our daughter's born, and she's born on the far spectrum of autism.
Mm-hmm.
I did a podcast once before, and my wife was like, Stu, I don't think you should say that. Whatever. It is what it is. It'll stay. I'm not worried about that. Here's the blessing, right? For me, where faith comes in, where we become, like lepers in society, right? And we're really blessed with touch. We become people respect walking down the block. I've coached kids for many umpteen years. I've had kids that I've coached in Little League that have died from overdoses, okay? So, like, I've sort of whole gamut. I've seen everything. And my daughter's born that way, and we're nervous, of course. I mean, you're going to be, who's going to be like, oh, great. And I'm looking at God, and I'm mad, and I'm like, I thought I was your boy. What are you doing? All right, this is my daughter. Now you're going to keep trickling this down on me here? What are we doing? So, like, and I got a great story. I'm just tears of joy right now. Like, here's my daughter, okay? I told my wife it's either fear or faith. What are we going to live in now? We're going to be afraid of this, or we're going to be faithful. You know what I mean? God's got our back. It'll work out, okay? Now, and I hate even saying that because we've met so many wonderful families that have the kids that suffer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's I feel terrible for them, man. But you know what? My prayers are always there with them, man. Whatever I can do, I do. But here's my daughter, as she's a freshman in an all-girls high school, St. Thomas Academy in Jersey City. She gets honorable mention, all-county pitcher.
Nice.
The other day, it's in the paper.
Nice.
So don't tell me that God ain't working in my life. You know what I mean? So the work is, it's awesome, man. It's like,
that's incredible.
dude, at the end of the day, I mean, you feel what you thought was the worst day of your life has become to be, we've had people come to our home, early intervention people, say, your daughter might be taking it. What is she doing? We didn't know what was happening. Oh, she might be taking a seizure right now. You're hearing all this stuff. You're like, wow, what are we doing? But the faith stood where it stood. I never said, never in my wildest dreams, I said, I'm drinking over this. Nothing is going to make me pick up. Nothing.
Well, us Catholics have a lot of sayings too. And there's one that says, God straps the backs to the burdens, which means he picks people to raise those special kids.
No doubt.
So you were picked by him. You should be proud of that.
No doubt.
It's
a blessing, man.
That he felt you were the right person to raise that daughter.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And me personally, I never thought I was going to be a parent. Me and my wife, I went and had surgery to be able to have children. Never had a child. My first wife, and here's the other blessing. Me and my wife connect, and then I have a child, like 1, 2, 3. How does that happen? Come on, man. It's special, man. It's special.
That's right.
And for people like listening, and I hope a lot of people listen to this, like, don't ever think that it can't happen for you. Because even for me, I'm like, fear plays a big part in our life. There's no doubt about it. It says, I don't want to talk a lot of AA lingo, but I know we said AA and it's already, like in our step 10, it's when these crop up, fear, resentment, anger, our defensive character want us dead. You understand? My disease understands it cannot get me with alcohol and drugs no more. It'll come at me in lust, resentment, fear, hate, selfishness, everything. It'll come at me in 1,000 different ways. And the beauty of it is, it's all where the alcohol. Here's the alcoholic and addict mind. 2 things. We live in a place which never materializes. We live there where we project. Our projection is so bad, where it's never going to be good. Where we self-sabotage ourselves. Nobody could do this to us but us.
Right.
People are going to be like, what are you worried about? It's going to be all right, Vin. Come on, the podcast's going to be a success. In the back of your mind is, it's going to suck. It's never going to be good. You know what I mean? And that relates for me, like, here's how fear still played a part of my life in 2004. Now, I'm sober at this time, maybe, 12, 13 years, right? My friend Max is doing an acting class. In 1996, I do a short film with this NYU student guy. It was great. We had a good time. We got good response. Short film festival. It was awesome. I'm ready to go to the acting class. I'm afraid.
Of course.
I'm not good enough. You can't do it, Stu. You know what I mean? Since then, I've just sent these guys a documentary we did. I've been on Law and Order. I'm on a TV show right now that's on TV called Gravesend. I don't want to promote it, but Willie's a great guy. I'm not saying I don't want to promote Willie, but I don't want to just talk about me, but like how life comes. And we have a show we wrote, like, and a lot of fear comes in that. This show's going to suck. Nobody's going to like it. Come on, it's crazy. We're picked up by a major production company right now. Like, all good things continue to happen. Look, I'm 54 years old. Came into these rooms at 21. Like, I'm a perfect example of don't quit before the miracle happens, man.
That's
Everybody,
right.
and a lot of people make the mistake. They want to come in and get cash and prizes.
No.
Listen, this ain't you. Listen, you want to better you. You want to feel good about you. Listen, nothing you obtain in your life is going to make you feel good about you. What you do for other people is always going to give you that blessing, and you're going to feel on a high that you never could find in a bag, anywhere in a bottle. It's amazing, man. And
100%.
these guys know this is what they do. You know what I mean?
I always thought that like a successful recovering life would mean jewels, riches, cars, house. That's what I thought it looked like. I thought I'd be able to hold money. I've never been able to hold money a day in my life. And life's good now. Life's good, you know? But it's not what I value. It doesn't make anything better. The days that I wake up and, you know, I look at my daughter much like yours, and they have done things I never thought they would also be able to do. I'm like, what did I do to deserve this, bro? What did I do to deserve this? Nothing. I don't deserve this. Thank you. Thank you so much. And they just keep giving back, man. It just keeps coming that way. It's amazing.
I'll give you guys a story of a friend of mine. His name is Justin Nicoletti. One of the worst phone calls I ever got. This kid's like a little brother to me. He came in the neighborhood. Like, they used to try to bother him on the corner. I used to tell the kids they were dealers. So leave the guy alone. He's my boy, okay? Cut the bullshit. You know what I mean? So, like, after 2 or 3 times, they understood. He's my friend. Love this kid. Nicest kid in the world. Come from Newport, Rhode Island. Big money. Father lives in a castle up there. Father's my man. I still talk to him. Got the call last February. Oh, this ain't good, I said. Justin's dead. Every time I go out there, he's doing like $2,000 a week in oxys, whatever the case was. He was bad, bro. He was bad. All the money in the world, everything at his disposal, whatever he wanted, it was all there. This kid, the stories I have with this kid, I went to a hotel. He was under the name Ziggy Marley in a hotel.
You're kidding.
Playing a guitar. This kid, I went to New York City. The father said he's homeless in the downtown Wall Street area. He'll come in this restaurant. I pay for his bill every day. He came and his hand was deformed. He was just down on the street running. The kid had the world. So I get there. I go to the big to-do. They're all up there, and we're all under this tent, and I see everybody sipping mimosas, and everybody's, I'm like, this is it, right? I see his daughter, and I talk to him. I tell her, listen to me. Your dad didn't want to be that way. Your dad wanted to be in your life. I sit down with the father. The father goes, you know what, Stu? Not because it was me, because of the network we have here. He goes, my son was the best when he was in Hoboken with you guys. And you know what the moral of the story is? Just what you talked about. He felt that he got married. He had to go off now, go get the house, go live in that lifestyle. And that's what I like to tell a lot of people. Like, I always say, we're always doing this. We're always looking somewhere else. All we need and all we have is right in front of us. We need nothing else, man. It's all right here, right now. You feel good. You're healthy. You're sober. You're talking to other alcoholics every day, other addicts. They're happy. You're talking them to a situation. And the truth of the matter is, I can help you better probably than I can help me. Because I see your situation so clearly. It's like, come on, what are you kidding? But yet, mine's at me. I'm always like, oh, it's gloom and doom. Oh, no, they're going to be good. But like you, I'm like, look how great you're doing, man. This is awesome. And remember, I told you guys this day. This podcast, we're doing this here. This is going to be the best visual podcast going. And I don't know how long, but quick. It's coming. Trust me when I tell you.
Yeah, we'll get the video going. Not yet, but we will.
It's coming.
Eventually. But that's a great story. That's a great story. So you got clean in, 91?
October 9th, 1991, John Lennon's birthday.
October 9th, yeah, right.
John Lennon's birthday, I got sober.
Nice.
And I came to the room, and here's the crazy part. Like, did I really believe I'm going to be here all these years later? At that time, I never doubted it, but I never saw this. Like, they say if you make a list, early recovery, you'll be selling yourself short when you get down the line. And yeah, that list, you know what my best high is? The respect that I have from everybody. Because I always first and foremost think of myself as a piece of shit. You know what I mean? So coming into the rooms in 1991, like, I'm a kid, man. I'm happy, $20, packing Newport, we're making meetings, we're doing it. But see, one component I like to tell everybody is, the thing you have to do in recovery is change. You know, my man Pasquale COD was change or die. Pasquale used to say, I got a sick body and a mind I can't trust. And that's true facts because your disease is patient. I didn't do the inside job I was supposed to do. So I'm in a bar one Sunday, sports bar where I shouldn't be. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, like I told you.
Good Lord.
You got to see he's got a Philly hat on. You got to see what Sam's looking at. And they're playing the Green Bay Packers. Brett Favre was quarterback at the time. Early on, probably just got in, 93, 94. And the guy came over and I got a physical altercation in the bar fight. Was I supposed to be there? God's telling me, Stu, you got no business here. Okay? Now, I didn't have a job going at the time. I'm working for one of the guys from the neighborhood, and there's nothing going on that day. And he goes, hey, Stu, come to my house. I have work for you. He's got a chassis of a car in the parking lot. He hands me a sawzall with like 100 packs of metal blades. Come on, cut the car for me. I'm doing an insurance job on it. Want to get paid for the day? I'm involved. I'm not where I'm supposed to be, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And I'm very, very lucky that I get to tell the story today because a lot of guys did less shit than me, and they didn't make it.
Yeah,
right.
I have that spiritual sickness. Like the alcoholic and addict doesn't need to do what we do. They don't need to work hard because they're not like us. We have that spiritual sickness that either way it's going to kill us eventually. You know what I mean? We're not going to make it out of this thing alive. And the worst case is it ain't even drinking. It's living. Living is just a dry drunk, right?
It's the
What's
defects.
worse than that?
The defects
What's
will kill you heavier than anything.
My friend Tony. This is another guy. Another story for people listening out there. The man had the worldwide of balls. Late 80s, was sober in 1988. He had real estate properties, millions of dollars, right? Told me the truest story. He said, you know what, Stu? Psychiatrist told me. He said, you were already drugging by gambling, degenerate gambling. He said, all you did was go to your drug of choice, which was alcohol. And, you know, like, and the point to that story is, right, there's no substitution. You can't switch here. From one thing, and today, I don't even want to talk about what's going on today with all this California clean nonsense where all people supposedly in recovery, okay, I'm just smoking weed now, I'm sober. You're not sober smoking weed. I just want to throw that out there. If you could just smoke weed, I'm going to doubt your addictism. You understand what I'm saying? 100%. I can't just puff a joint and have a beer. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean?
That's a good line. I'm going to doubt your addictism.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, I'm only doing benzos, man. I'm good. I never had a problem with that.
Yeah, I tried the green route. I always go back to white.
Listen,
you know?
Of course.
Exactly.
And every other type of thing in the room. Like, for me, I come from the old school where basically clean is clean. Like, I'm not putting anything to my system. I'm taking aspirins. I'm taking blood pressure and cholesterol pills. That's all close.
That's okay.
You know, that's it. You know, I had a shoulder surgery a few years ago, and a doctor comes over, like, you know, how they get, you know. So I get you this little script for Percocets, and, you know, we'll do it. I said, listen to me. Do me a favor.
Right.
Motrin 800s. Just high, and this is a shoulder surgery. Three tears. Major repair on my shoulder.
And when was that?
2021, not 2021.
Did you tell them when you filled out the paperwork, you know, when they say allergies?
That's a good question.
What'd you write?
That's a good question.
Because I always write.
No, that's a good point.
Every single time, like clockwork, drugs. I write allergies, narcotics.
Right, exactly.
Every time. You know, and without a doubt, every single time the doctor will come to me and go, listen, I think you need a couple tens.
Yes.
I'm like, dude, do you not see what I wrote on this form?
No.
I'll tell you, I was in an accident in 2012. I was sober many, many years by 2012. So they take me to this ER in Philly, and I'm refusing all the pain medication. And I had like I don't know if it was a fractured ankle, but it was bad. And they're like, here's some pain meds. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Just some Motrin, like you said earlier. And they come in a half hour later, you're really going to need these. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. And half hour later, I'm telling you're really, really going to need these soon. And I pull out my coin. And at the time, I forget how many years sober I had. Maybe, I don't know, 25 years in the program. So I pull out my 25-year coin. I said, I'm refusing that medication for a reason. And they were like, oh, you know, they looked at my sobriety coin, which I always carry, and they said, oh, okay. But they were like, they wanted me to have that pain medication. And I don't know why. I think maybe it was because they didn't want to hear me later on, whatever. But, you know, it's like when someone is adamantly refusing it, you got to like back off.
The crazy part is, and I'm going to tell you why. because these doctors are pushing. I believe right now, I always say the Colombians were our friends. They gave us coke, they gave us weed, it grew out of the ground, it was natural. I believe we are in the worst time in the history of the world with drugs. And they say Americans consume 80% of the world's drugs. Okay, so here's the problem. You got, now, what kills me, I'm totally pissed off at weed being legalized in this state, in New Jersey. I think it's a joke. I think you definitely decriminalize it, not allow people to walk down the block and smoke and get high.
They want the tax dollars.
You know, that's the only reason.
I get it.
They did it for money. The only reason. They don't care.
I get it.
They just want that tax.
Yeah, and I firmly believe with the pills, and like you said, doctors want to push it because they want to get us. I mean, they got grandmas on pills now. I mean, it's bad. So at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer, man. If you are clean and sober right now, say you listen to this, maybe you get to listen to this in a detox one day. Hold on with your dear life. Because the fentanyl people, there's no more relapsing. Hey, he's back. No, he's relapsing. He's dead. Mm-hmm. You know, so like the seriousness of it is that just at a different level right now.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like the guy who used to go away. Okay, he went in detox for heroin. Say, okay, he comes out, he does a bag, little OD, he's back to life. They bring him back. This you're not OD and come back to life unless you continue to take fentanyl into your system and you have a tolerance for it. It's a difference.
What we see today, though, is the fentanyl tolerance.
Going up, right?
I'll see a girl weighs 110 pounds soaking wet, and she can put down more fentanyl than an elephant. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's all about tolerance.
We've adapted to it.
Yes.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
It's how do you help that person medically when they can handle enough fentanyl for an elephant?
And you got fentanyl being laced in a lot of different things. Now you don't even know the kind of weed you're buying unless you're getting it from a dispensary. Like they're just lacing fentanyl and everything.
Yeah.
Cocaine, which is like the opposite. You know, weed, everything you buy, there could be fentanyl in it if you're buying it off the street.
A girl approaches me in the IOP after we're done speaking. She says, "Come here, Stu." Shows me a picture of her brother, black kid. No disrespect, Stu. He was with 3 white girls in Pennsylvania. I think it made the papers. They went to smoke a joint. Dead. Or 4 of them. Fentanyl. Like these kids, like, okay, there are some kids that will experiment with his joint. I know when we were younger, there's some kids that smoked. They weren't a full-blown addict. They tried it. You can't even do that today. These kids, there is no room for failure. Especially alcoholics and addicts that are in recovery. Listen, I'm hearing, like, I went out to the bar, I'm hanging out. If you're a true blue, I can't. I don't want to be around it. That's the difference.
You know, the AA, like I always said, has 1,000 sayings. And one of my favorite ones is, you don't take a blind man to the movies. You don't take a drunk to the bar. You know what I mean? You know, you got no business being there.
Listen, another guy, here's an IOP story for you. I love it. The mentality, business guy. I didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable. So I said, meet me at the brewery. I meet him at the brewery. I have 5 0.5 volumes of or whatever, 5 non-alcoholics, which have 0.5.
No, they don't have any in it.
Whatever.
The FDA makes them put that on the bottle just to be clear. Your cologne has 80 times as much alcohol as in there.
So he goes, and I found myself drinking 5, 6 of them. Couldn't stop drinking them. I'm like, dude, I don't go to crack houses to smoke cigarettes. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You want to go?
Exactly.
I'm not throwing some drywall on a stud.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh, you know it. No. Anything on the floor, I'm putting it. What are you kidding me?
Yeah, I remember. I used to drink some of those once in a while, and I remember going to a Christmas party back. This was probably very early '90s, so I was only clean and sober, maybe 5 years, whatever. Might have been 1990, 91. And I remember having about 20 of them. And I must have gone to the bathroom like 10 times. And I'm thinking to myself, as I'm driving home, totally sober, driving home, I'm thinking to myself, that's exactly how I used to drink regular beer. I would have 20 of them. I wouldn't know how to stop. And and I said, that'll never happen again. And, you live and learn. You know what I mean? And it's just a story to tell. Like, if you ever went back at it, guess what? you'd be back at it.
I equated,
you know what I mean?
I equated every day to having a cup of coffee in the morning. I say, I'm going to have this one cup 6 o'clock in the morning if I get to work. 10 o'clock. Yo, you guys want coffees? Who wants a coffee? Who wants a coffee? Boom, getting coffees. Lunchtime, you want to get a coffee? At lunch, get a coffee. Tell my wife at 2:30, let's put the coffee on. Boom, having a coffee. Going to the meeting, having a coffee. I do everything to excess. There's no, and that's another thing. Like for people out there, like, and the beauty of it is, you know what? Help people to excess. How's that? Take phone calls all day from people who are suffering. Get out of your own head is the real key for us, right? What does it say? Yep. Our constant thought must remain of us. So if I get out of my own head and look to help somebody else, one true saying you hear is, when I'm in my own head, I'm behind enemy lines. And that's the bottom line,
that's
man.
Right.
So I need to get out of this sickness and work with other people.
You're
man.
behind enemy lines when you're in your own head.
No
That's
doubt.
right.
That's the blessing, man. So,
Definitely.
Yeah, man.
But that's, you got some good stories, Stewie.
How we doing? How we doing, man? How
we're doing great, man. We're doing great.
It's awesome. No, I listen, and I enjoy being with these guys because you know what? I think more of this is definitely needed because I remember in 2008, John Lupo, who we were talking about with Vinny earlier, he's Darryl Strawberry's business manager. Mm-hmm. We went down to check out these guys who were doing podcasts in 2008 in Florida. I mean, they were way ahead of time. It was straight recovery radio.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. You know what I mean? I get it, like we're not supposed to mention AA and I understand, but like this is hitting people who need help, straight recovery. I don't mind that. Listen, in the Atlanta group, they tape me after you're done speaking. They tape me in the AG. I don't know if you've ever been there. Like 600 people, they come and hand you the CD, and they sell CDs in the Atlanta group. So you promote
it's a speaker tape.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly.
It's a speaker.
You know what I mean? So this is similar.
Tape.
So like at the end of the day, like the recovery talk needs to be more out there because you know what? We're fighting a losing battle, man. I don't know what the numbers are at this stage and the rate of recovery of people coming in. 75% back then because
it's about 70%.
I would hope so.
It's about 70% relapse. Maybe about 30%
wow, I think we say recovery.
No.
Holy cow!
According to like national statistics, a couple of years ago, if you leave treatment today, a group of people leave today, about 70% of them will relapse in the first year. Most of which happens in the first month. So, it's a high relapse rate, and you're right, it's an uphill battle.
And like I tell people all the time, especially in rehabs, in detoxes, in IOPs, do not come out of treatment and try to be mother of the year, father of the year, worker of the year. Now I'm taking all the overtime. This comes to meetings in second place now, and I don't need my recovery people. Listen, you have to go easy, man. You can't get it all back. It's like as a guy who's in a slump batting. You can't get the home run right off the hop. Work at it. Bunt hit a ground ball. You have to come back slow.
I always tell people you didn't ruin things in a month.
Yes.
Don't try to get them all back in a month.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because that's what will make you stumble.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize you try to get all that back in a month, try to make up all your bills in a month. It's your basic. It's going to hurt you basically.
Yes. And another blessed situation, like getting sober early. Like I didn't have much on my plate. At 21 years old, I had really nothing in front of me. Go to the gym. Work out, hit the meeting at night. Like I said, $20 in my pocket. If I go to my grandma's and eat, I'm a happy dude, man. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
all you needed.
Yeah, that's it, man. I was good, man. I was good.
Yeah, it's not like we were supporting families and mortgages and whatever when we got clean.
And to go further than that, I always say I have so much respect for people who like destroy their lives like that, and then they get their life back, and they have to do all that repair work and the damage. Here's another great story for people who think they could just dip and dab. A friend of mine told me, guy just came out of rehab, okay? At his son's Little League game, he ODs. They stopped the Little League game and hit him with the Narcan.
Wow.
I mean, the trauma that kid, just from that one incident with that kid, the embarrassment. Like, you don't know what that, listen, that was for me. That was the main thing for me as a kid. Let's forget about the fear a lot. Let's talk about the embarrassment of my father knocking on the door when I'm dressing, putting my pads on. I was a quarterback for the big team. Now, I know you guys know how Pee Wee ball is. You play at 13, you're the guy at quarterback. Odds are you're the guy going into high school. That put me to the fucking, took me to my argument. It's like, is my father drunk? Standing outside the door. Last game he came to, I was a freshman. I had 3 Oscars in that one game. He was there. He saw me smoking a cigarette in the courtyard, put it out. I knew he drank a little bit. That was the last interaction. And my father came to me, like as a gentleman. He was trying to get sober. I was in the pool hanging out with a couple girls in Secaucus. I had a few beers in me, a few bones, right? And I get the page. Stuart Churchill in front. Oh, shit. What did I do? The cops see him. What that was my dad. And he's trying to, make amends. He's in the rooms a little bit. He's in and out. He's relapsed a little bit. Hey, want to come watch some movies with me? Blockbuster movies at the time. He got the bag. I'm like, Dad, come on. The girls are here.
I gotta watch a movie.
I gotta go watch a movie. I'll see you later. Last time I ever seen him.
Wow.
Oh,
Last time I ever seen him.
That's pretty
So, he tried. So that's what I always keep down. I know it was hard and coming up, but like I said,
that's a good memory.
And here's something. I was just talking to somebody the other day that never really hit me. I will never let that go to waste. Being the man that he was made me who I am today. So guess what? My father, they owned a building around the corner. My grandfather was the most talented carpenter you ever seen. My father was a Wall Street guy, could have made tons of cash, blew it all, right? They could have made an empire together. Now, what if I would have got a taste of that? Well, I would have been. Maybe I'm not here today. It all happens for a reason.
That's right.
They had to be who they. I'll never let those guys die in vain. What they went through, I pray for their souls. What they went through, they made me the man I am today. I don't want to be that guy for my daughter. Now, for my family, I believe I broke that generational curse somewhat.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And my daughter don't have to see me like that. And God willing, she don't see this as a solution. Where, hey, what's up, babe? What are you doing? Cigarettes at the table with a shot. That's what she'd be coming home to. If I was lucky enough to be home, I wouldn't be in jail. I wouldn't be dead.
Yep.
You know what I mean? What would she be walking into?
Absolutely.
Lines on, clean the line up the table. Dude, I'm full-fledged, man. My wife was too. The blessing, like I said, I got my wife. It's like she got sober, we went off, had this child, we got married, and have a wonderful family, man. It's like you could have. There's no way you put this down and say this is what I want. He knows what I need.
Yeah, we got clean at such a young
100%.
age that we couldn't imagine what our lives would turn out to be when we were in our 50s.
I won't be there.
You know what I mean?
I wouldn't have lived. You wouldn't have lived. We wouldn't have been there. Never happened.
So, Sam, what do you got as a parting gift for the crowd?
Stewie, I just want to thank you for coming out, brother. Or having us out, I should say. Your story was awesome. I can relate to it a lot. I honestly hope we continue a relationship after this. You're definitely my kind of guy, my kind of alcoholic, as I should say. And, yeah, man, very enlightening, very relatable. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you. And first of all, let me thank you two guys, because these gentlemen right now, you talk about how one alcoholic helped another. They came down, they drove a long way to come make my life easier. So I appreciate these two guys, and what they're doing is tremendous work for alcoholic addicts. I mean, they're there. I remember, and I'll just end with this. I heard their podcast and how they're on the phone so much and have to make time for their families, and I have to do the same. And these guys, you know what? And this is what another thing, and people don't understand this. This is where you neglect your family and help people. You guys know that. Everybody thinks it's all peachy. You come in, you get everything. No, we push people away sometimes to help you guys. So when you guys really want to help, these are the men you're going to come see. And God willing, I could be in the picture with them also. But I love you guys out there, and I love these two gentlemen next to me, and I appreciate this day today. Thank you.
Stewie, I really appreciate you being here. Awesome story. Very relatable, and I know your story's gonna help a lot of people out there. And I just want to kind of send things off, because we talked a lot about drinking today, and a friend of mine reminded me. He said, "You might not be thinking of your drinking, but your drinking is thinking about your drinking." So it's always there. It's always following you like a shadow, and that's why we have to be tenacious about our recovery, and that's why we are Tenacious Recovery. And I want to thank everybody for listening. Thanks, Sam, my co-host. Stewie, thanks so much. And God willing, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Amen.